Hello YouTube, welcome back to another tutorial by MisfitToyzLab. What we got here is the 8320 RT John Deere that I've been working on. It is not my model per se, it's a conversion from FarmSim 15, and I brought it over into 17 and I did a lot of changing to it. Swing around the back and show you the work that we did on the back. We changed the rear end. We added the poly hydraulic tank underneath. A lot of this stuff is just borrowed from other tractors. So like the rear end, that came out of a John Deere tractor that was a separate object. It's just a matter of finding one that's close and that will work with your mod. So yes, it is a Lego build, kinda. We added a bunch of GPS screens to the interior of the cab. What I'd like to do is add some external fertilizer tanks to the tractor. This particular side tanks are, I believe, KMN Modding's tanks, and they're out there for attaching to the 8R John Deere. Now these side tanks aren't really going to work for this 8320 RT unless we modify them a little bit, because if you go online and look at all the side tanks that have been installed on these tractors, which we could do real quick. Go out here on the YouTube, or let's see, let me first full screen. Okay, now we're full screen. Let's go to here and 8320 RT saddle tanks, and we'll look at images. Okay, there we go. There's ones with Demco. See, they attach them to the tracks, the track frame. So I mean, the way that the tanks are right now, they're not going to work on that 8320 RT unless we modify them a little bit. And I'm going to show you how you can take tanks and put them in to Blender, bring them out of Blender, and utilize them. Modify them in Blender, and then bring them out and utilize them on your mod. And you can either make them an attachable object or a purchasable object in FarmSim. But the first step of this is going to be exporting it. Demcos would be nice, and I thought I downloaded some from somewhere, but I just don't know where they're at. I looked through my mods folder and I couldn't find them. But there is another tank that is a possibility, and in this pack, well, this is the helicopter tanks that are out on Modland. I said these are KMN Modding's tanks. Is a front tank, and we could look and see. Okay, there's that. What's the mount look like? It's not necessarily a bad deal, not a bad option. There's just no, vertical support, and then so yeah, we will probably not use this. We'll just take those others in and modify them. So we'll close this out. No, we don't want to save anything we did. So first thing you do, is we need to send these to Blender, we have to export them as a wavefront object. So these are the tanks right here, and we're going to go File, Export Selection, and we'll use the side tank's name, but we'll send it out as a wavefront object. Now, one thing I like to do though is, you see I have this Blender file that puts it at the top. I'll probably actually go into there, side tanks, wavefront object, and this is where I send objects that I possibly want to edit or change in Blender. So I'll save that there. Then we'll go out into Blender, which I have Blender open. I don't remember what I was doing. Oh, I was working on the stairs. So let me quick save this. Okay, this is saved as a ladder.blend. So we'll just go ahead and make sure that I saved the most recent copy. Then I want to, we'll just while in object mode, we will select that, we'll hit X, we'll delete it, the other staircase, delete. Now we're ready to import. So we'll File, Import, a wavefront object. Now I was working in that Blender file with that ladder, so go to this Blender, and there's our side tanks. We'll bring them in. Oh, did I just export wait, what did I do? Import, wavefront object, Blender, side tanks. Huh. It must not like that. So let's I think what it is because this is a collision. So if you take all of this and you say edit, cut, there's nothing there. So edit, paste, move up. So this first one is a collision. So it's not going to like to take a collision. I should have knew better. So what we want to take is the side tanks, these right here, because these are the objects. That he has two different sizes. So you have these, and then we'll make them invisible. This little visibility box is right here. And then you have, these are like a squattier tank. Which one's going to work best for this? I think the tall ones are going to work better for this tractor. So if we make them visible again. Because, whoops, messed up there. Let's go grab the whole thing, drag it back, because that's about the placement that we wanted on the side. So we're going to mount it right here to the side of the tracks. Get a good look at the front, and then it'll be hanging out over here, but we want to shorten that up and separate left from right so that we can position it properly on the tractor. So yeah, I think the taller tank. So what we're going to do is take those two, and we're going to do this again. We're going to go File, Export Selection, Wavefront Object, Side Tanks, and Save. And do you want to replace it? Yep. Okay, so now we'll go into Blender, and we'll File, Import, Wavefront Object, that Blender file, and the side tanks. Now it's going to load. Okay. So right now we are in material mode because that's where I was at with those stairs. So we want to go to solid mode, just a little easier to. And the controls to move and navigate around in Blender is you use Shift and your mouse buttons to move like side to side. You use your center mouse button to rotate. You go Shift, center mouse button, and it slides. So when you're moving, and then scroll in, scroll on your middle mouse button, zooms in and out. Okay. So these are our two objects that we want to manipulate. Now the tanks themselves are fine. So, but the first thing we want to do while we're in here is we want to give it a material, because we're going to start messing with it, and we want to assign a material before we get any further. So we want to go down because you have side and side tanks. So the side tanks, we want to go, we're going to go back to giants just briefly. So the side tank, we want to go down here and we can find out where the diffuse is. So we, in our material editing, you have diffuse texture. You can hover over that, it'll give you the address. So it's 8320 RT, textures, and tank diffuse. Okay? So we can go to this, to our, we've assigned it a material. Now we're going to give it a texture, and we're going to assign it that diffuse. So here's our 8320 RT. We're going to go into textures, and we're looking for tank right there. So there's our tank, and we can go down here and go back to material, and now it has placed that material on it. So we can go to this one, which is the arms. We're going to do the same thing. Give it a new material. I didn't look and see what that material was called. So if we go to this, side diffuse. Same textures and side diffuse. Okay. So we've given it a new material. I'm going to go in here, I'm going to go to open, textures, side diffuse. Okay. And now you can see that the tanks are white and the arms are now green. The bolts have got their texture on them. The hoses have theirs. Why the tanks are not yellow so if we go back to side tank, those are how bizarre. Are they color selectable? They are. They are color masked. Okay, so that's why they're yellow. When you give it a color mask in the shader, it turns it yellow. So I didn't realize that. I didn't know that those were color selectable. Okay, so back to what we were doing. Like I said, the tanks are okay. We just want to separate them. So let's go into edit mode, and that's by using the tab. And the fast, hard, quick way to do this is unselect everything. Down here there's a X-ray button. It's the two little circles, one solid and then one's kind of like see-through. You want to click on that, and see now you can see through and you can see all the points. And we want to go with faces. There's vertices, edges, and faces. That's the three icons here. Vertices are all the little points. So that's a point. An edge is the line between the points. And the face is the the face between all the edges. Okay. If we go C, this is our circle select. We can just hover that and select the whole thing. Now the reason I went with X-ray is because it selects everything on the other side. And I hit right just to unselect. We can hit G and we can move it around to prove that we did do it right. And put it back, G, and then if you don't like what you're doing, hit right click, puts it right back. So this tank is separated from this tank. We now go P to separate selection. We have now separated that tank, but the reason I gave it textures is now both of them are textured the same. Okay, if that makes sense. That's why I gave it a texture first off. Now with this thing, to separate it, it's going to be a little bit difficult because it has this common here. So we're going to first take it out of X-ray because we want to be able to just see what we're working with here. And we want to unselect all. And we might be able to separate it by just, let's go back into X-ray, we'll go circle select, and we'll start getting. Now one thing you can do is try the L button, and what the L button will do is it will select just let's say like you have a circle and you make it a, I don't know how best to describe this. Let's say you have a cube, okay, a cube, and then from that cube you added onto it with a sphere. If you just wanted to select the cube, even though they're joined together, if you just hit the L, it will just select that cube and not the sphere. So I think like the L would be the linked faces, okay, if you think of it that way. And so we're just holding the L and we're going, and you got to be kind of zoomed in for this smaller stuff. So if you hit L, see how it's just kind of highlighting everything that's that bolt. That's a nice looking bolt. I might have to use that. Because we have the X-ray set, we can go back to C and we can just highlight that. We just hover over all that stuff, and as we roll around here, there's another bolt that we can just highlight that. We can come back over, get underneath it. This pipe here, highlight those. This bolt here, we're going to use the L. You can also use the C to unselect. See how these right here are part of this. So we go C, and we're going to use the center. I'm going to make it smaller by scrolling in and out. And we're going to use the center button to unselect those. So it's like erasing what we've selected. And then over here we're going to do that. We're going to come a little closer. You can also like that and then select it and then back delete. Or back unselect, I guess. So something like that. But anyway, that's getting kind of hard to see what we're doing. That's, maybe it'd be better to select the center object. Let's try that. I mean, sometimes just to go in and, the one thing that you could do is if you selected everything and you hit remove doubles. Now what that does though is it will mess with the shape of the object. We could try it. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work, but sometimes when you can't select what you want, this is the only way to do it. And then we'll just have to solidify an edge split before we're done with it. But at least we still have the texture assigned to it. So let's go remove doubles. It just dumped 13,655 vertices. Okay, now see how it kind of got a little distorted? Or at least it looks it does. Yeah. We'll go back into tab and we'll give her a go here. Let's see how it's like. Now it's just speed selecting that. So that is like all one object. See how it comes out nice and clean? So we're going to go Control Z, put it back. Control Z is your friend in Blender. So that is, see, it's like a separate object of this object. But you couldn't do that unless you did remove doubles to get it that clean and that quick. Okay? So let's separate that. And then what we want to do is come over here and we'll just select, see how it just grabbed that whole arm? It's just like wholesale, just boom, 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 boom. We'll just go ahead and select everything. To prove we got it all, we'll go G, yes. We want to separate that. So now this is separate, this little connector bar is separate, and this is separate. Now to modify this tank, how best to do it? Let's first get rid of the X-ray so we can look at this a little better. Because we really don't want that sticking that far out. But having it... So what we can do is we'll come up here and we'll try this first. So that says that that is a separate... When we hit L, it separated that out. So looks like there's some brackets that need to be selected as well. Look around, all those gussets down here. We want those selected as well. Select those gussets. And I'm just using the L to select them. Now let's zoom out a little bit and we'll give her a go with the G. So that came off pretty clean. Now we can whoops, hang on, I got a phone call. I gotta pause the video. Okay, I am back. This particular view, for my recording software, it's Shift F10. Now some of the shortcut keys for Blender just so happen to be Shift F10. So this is the UV image editor. To get back to the 3D view, you have this little window icon right here, and just hit 3D view and it jumps back. Now what we want to do is I like the job they did with this as far as shape and stuff, but you think about the 8320 RT, do we really want that sticking all that far out? And no, we don't. But what we can do to change this shape is, let's first hit A to unselect. Let's hit our 3D view, and we want to select everything up top. So we want to go C, select all that, and we might as well select the hose, and we'll just hit L down here, Make sure that all selected. Now what we can do is we go G to move, and we want to move it on the X axis, and we want to straighten it out like that. See what I'm doing? Now we can also hit the right mouse button to just get a different perspective, because I'm thinking we want to go straight up and down. So we'll go G, X, and that's pretty straight up and down. Looks pretty good. So that's that. I hope that's what I was doing before I got interrupted. I'm not too sure right now. Now, yeah, I think we got to unselect everything again. Well, what we want to do now is we want to select all of this stuff, all of this, because we're going to slide it over. Okay. We want to select all of this. Hose. We'll probably go use the C, select all of that. Looks like we missed a bolt. Select. Looks like we missed some bolts there. That looks pretty decent. We want the bolts to go with it, so we want to select those. So basically we will select all of this, and then we'll unselect anything that gets selected that we don't want to select, if that makes sense. Okay, then we'll unselect. One of the nice things about being able to choose between vertices, edges, and faces is that you can use that to your advantage. Oh, I don't think we wanted to unselect that. Oh, probably not. But we will just unselect a few of these things here, and then we'll come back in and we'll hit the face and L to select. Now we'll hit G, X, and see how that works. Oh, looks like we got an intermittent face, plus we missed something here. I'll select that. We got a point here that didn't move, so we'll go. Oh, we dropped our tools out. Our tool window. I bumped the T button. So we'll go G, X, and we're trying to see what vertice. Oh, maybe we got it. Let's try it from up here. G, X. No. There is. There is something on this side that is still connected. So GX. Aha, it's over here. Must be the bolt. So we're going to use the L button. There we go. Now it's selected. Now if we zoom out, G, X, now it's disconnected. Let's get another view of it. Make sure we're getting everything we want to take, because I'm thinking we're missing this. Whoops, we don't want to delete anything. G, X. Looks like it. That looks like it to me. So now we'll make a final move. So we'll position ourselves you know what we can do while we have this all selected is separate it. P, separate selection. That makes it a lot easier. And tell you what, we can go in here and we can select this tank. And we can also do that in object mode, and we'll move it on the x-axis. Looks like about it. Now we'll take, what we can do is we can go with the tank and this arm, and we go Control P, so no matter where we move this arm, the tank goes with it. So we got that. Okay. And we can do the same thing with this. Control P. So if we move this object, it all goes with it. Okay? It's just object stacked under object. I've got a friend coming over to pick up a jackhammer, so I think he just pulled in the driveway. I gotta pause the video again, and then we'll get back at her, so hang tight. False alarm. He wasn't out there, so must have been somebody else. Okay, back at this. So now that we got this as a separate object, this one here, we can make it invisible. We can also select the tank. Or, sorry, this one. We make it invisible. Now these, let's take a look at what we can do to make it because when we did that, when we moved it, we probably deformed some things. Now in here, if you do undo the auto smooth, that seems to help. And I actually didn't get that very straight, did I? No, I didn't. So let's reselect everything on top. And let's take a look at it and go GX and go back a little ways. That might be closer to straight. And we can also, we want to do to square that, you know, that moved is not necessarily a bad thing. The shape that we have right now is not necessarily a bad thing. I actually kind of like that. So we have that. So that's that object, and then the tank, which we made invisible, and that, and we slid it over. So we want to shorten up. That's what we want to do. We want to shorten up this. So we want to go, we can use a C, and we will get rid of the X-ray because we just want the face. We don't want to go through it. I think that's everything. And so let me go back over here and get rid of that tank so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to go GX and we'll shorten it up. Just like that. We'll bring the tank back in. So that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. And we just want to do the same thing for this. Now we can go in and do the same thing what we just did with this, or you know what we can do is we can select it and use a modifier, and we can mirror modify it. Boom, done. Apply. Now they're the same object though. Let's undo that. Let's go back to where'd it go? Mirror. No, unmerge and apply. So use that. Separate that object. Because then we can just move that out of the way. GX, move it out of the way. GX, move that out of the way. We can do the same with this. Mirror. Apply. And we can go in here and yes, we have the X-ray selected. I was making sure. We go down here and we'll use the L button to select the rest of it. Looks like it got it all. Yep. And we want to separate that. Tank. We want to mirror modify. Apply. My goodness. Take the auto smooth off. Hello.
Hey Brad, it's Tony.
Hey Tony.
We made one more cut and it ended up coming to pieces, so we don't need it.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No.
No worries.
Is your little Bobcat still over there? Your backhoe?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if we'll need that or not, but I don't think so. I'll let you know.
Okay, yeah.
Thanks, man.
You betcha. Yeah, I guess you don't need the jackhammer after all, so whatever. So it, I forgot what I was doing. Okay, that GX. Oh, we want to separate it. That's what I was. I think that's about right. Nope, not really. So we want to separate it. Go back in and select it. GX. Maybe about right there. Let's take the auto smooth off on those. Auto smooth. Looks like it. Looks like it. Okay, so there is the modified brackets, right? So these are all parented. So let's go ahead and move them. Whoops. Do we still have? See, that should be a separate object, isn't it? No, for some reason it's... Huh. So I guess we got this underneath. So we want to... select... some reason, I think you want to delete hierarchy. No, that wasn't it. Control Z. Side 005. Okay, that's that. We're not going to need that, so we can get rid of him. So that's side 2. Oh, you know what I think it was? Because I had parented all these together. Oh, that's why. So, let's see. I had that selected when I selected this. So we've got to unselect that. Oh, sometimes it can get confusing. I'll take this. So that's, and then just moving it just to verify. So then we want to go Shift and like that, and we're going to go Control J to join. Now, I'm going to take side 5. We want to grab it by the little triangle and drop it out. Okay, so now that is independent. Same with the tanks. So now those are all off by themselves. Okay, so now we want to reposition this. X. Right there. And we want to go side tank Shift to that saddle bracket. We want to go Control P, set parent to object. Same thing with this. We're going to go Shift, right click on the vertical and go Control P and set object. So now when we move this, it's all parented down. And let's go ahead and make sure that the auto smooth is off on everything. Still on that one. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Now we don't need this anymore. So let's go ahead and delete it. Delete that tank. Because this is going to be a totally different new object. But we do want to do edge split. Oh, and those, I forgot about this. The gussets. One thing we could do is we could just make this larger. We could do that. So let's go L. No. Maybe that's not going to work. No, it's not. It's not, it's not. So let's go here and let's zoom in. You can use Control, center button, hold center button, and scroll out. Now I'm hitting Shift and right clicking to select those faces because I wanted to just select those faces. And we want to go G and X. There we go. I think that is, yep. And I think the sides Okay. Yeah. We want to do the same thing to these. Huh. I'm going to see who this is. Hang on. Never mind. There's always something. Oop, not that one. And same thing, GX. There we go. So those gussets are reshaped. Alrighty. Didn't turn out too bad. I wanted to go out onto the internet here real quickly to make sure, because I remember seeing one of these with tanks, and they were like the helicopter tanks, but like the brackets were at an angle, and I wanted to just kind of verify as to why that was. Maybe we need to designate that it is a John Deere. I am not seeing that setup. I am not seeing that setup at all. Sorry for the delay here. It'll just take me a second to scroll through these. I know I have seen an 8320 RT with side tanks mounted to the side of the tracks, and the brackets were at an angle. Let's just see if there's a pretty good side view. Now, why would they be at an angle other than that they were mounted to that I-beam? It goes underneath. So here's, looking for a good size picture here. I guess this isn't bad. But yeah, I could see why. If they mounted it to that I-beam, then that would be the reason for, because that's what they were like at an angle, the braces were. And then the tanks were in this vicinity, like just under the eye level of the driver, and then the brackets came down. Because if you, so I'm sorry about rambling here. I'll try to wrap this up. Yeah, I'm just not seeing. I'm not seeing the picture that I've seen before, and maybe I saw it on Tractor House or something, you know. So let's go back into this, and let's make a decision as to, is that going to be at an angle, or are we going to leave it? I don't know. Well, let's experiment. Let's select all this. Make sure our X-ray is on. Select them bolts. Select those bolts. Okay. Now what happens when we... Let's see, that would be... Which one would be front and back? I guess this would be the front over here. Right? Oh, I don't know. I don't know which way these are supposed to go. But for just experimenting purposes, we're going to go G, but this time we're going to use Y. Oh, now I don't want to stay connected. It's too much of it. Too much of it is separate. So let's go back to C. Just select those gussets. Make sure we got it all. We did not. Back to C, gussets. That's got to be about it. And let's go GY. Zoom out and do it. GY. That wouldn't be a bad idea to do that. But how much? How much do you do? You go all the way over to that grid point. That's pretty extreme. If you put it right in the middle of the grid point, that's not bad. We can always do Control Z, so let's unselect. That's pretty cool. We'll have to do the same thing to the other side here. So if we select all of these guys, GY, is that about right? Looks like that bracket is about the center of that pipe. Yeah, about the same. Yeah, close. Unselect. Okay, X-ray off. G, Y, like a soul. G, Y, like a soul. Now that gusset is inside. So go back to X-ray, and now it's trying to differentiate out. I think those are actually separate, so let's just try that. Yep. And we'll go G, Y, move them out. We'll just select the top. Oh, we selected something. The tops, GY. Oh, Control Z. Let's unselect whatever we selected over there. GY. Now we will select them back all together. GY. That looks about right as far as, yep. Okay. So we're just messing around with them gussets. No idea who's calling. They can call back later because I am busy. Looks pretty close. Right there. Okay, that's just moving stuff around. Those are okay, that looks pretty decent, I think. So, next step, we want to go back into object mode, and we want to do modify, not that, I fat fingered that, don't do that, edge split. See how it changed the shape, how cleaner it is? And we want to do that with each object. Edge split. Edge split. Now I haven't applied any of them because I just wanted to make sure that they were gonna look decent. So they look pretty good. So we'll go ahead and apply it. And with that one we'll 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 apply it. Okay, I think we're ready to go back into Giants Editor with this and see what we can do. But first, before we leave, we need to go in here and make sure that we have the UV image or UV map selected here. We want to do that with every object. That has UV map selected. That has UV map selected. And that has UV map selected. Okay. Now we're ready. We're ready to go back into Giants Editor. So we've got this side, which would be the left, I'm assuming. And we have this side, that would be the right. So we can hit A, that selects them all. I guess yeah. Okay. So we'll go select all, file, export, and i3D. Now we want to go to the 8320RT and we'll just put it in the main folder. We want to call it Side Tanks. We're going to change it to Side Tanks Separated i3D. And export i3D. Now it's doing it. There we go. So let's just go ahead and minimize Blender I sometimes just leave Blender up in the background. But we want to go to our 8320RT folder because Blender and Giants Editor do not play well together sometimes. So here's that side tank separated i3D, and what we want to do is we want to edit it with Notepad. And I will show you why. And it is because Blender and Giants Editor sometimes just don't get along. And this is one of the problems you'll run into. See these file name paths? Giants Editor is not going to read that. Blender doesn't have a problem with it. But Giants Editor is going to be like, you want what? These little hash marks will throw it off. And this hash mark, because it's going the wrong direction, will throw it off. So we want to delete those and change the direction of that one. Delete those and change the direction of that one. And we just want to hit save. And we will, now that it is saved, we will close that out of Notepad so it's not lingering there. And so that's ready to be imported. So we go into Giants Editor. Let's go ahead and move these tanks. Once I go into Blender and I come back, I get screwed up. So we'll move these tanks to the back. And we will file import 8220RT, main folder, side tank separated. There they are. Oh, and we brought in all the lamps, so we can get rid of that. Okay, so we have side 1. Let's go ahead and drag him out. Oh, let's see here. So that's where the not knowing. I wish I still had that picture to reference off of. But that's the basic fundamentals of taking an i3D, portions of it, taking it into Blender, and bringing it back from Blender to Giants Editor. That pretty much takes care of that entire operation. But I'm going to experiment with this a little bit. I might have to go back into Blender. Yeah, because that angle is not going to work with those tank, with that bracket, because it'll run into the tracks. So we'll just have to experiment a little bit with that, see what we come up with. But yeah, that's pretty much the idea behind the tanks I was going for. It's just a matter of getting them to... I wish I could find the actual picture of the tanks that I am referring to. But now I'm starting to ramble. So thanks for viewing. We'll do an update of this later on. I'm also with the stairs. You saw those. I'm cleaning those up and making them more realistic so they're not so plain. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Hope you learned something. Always hit the like button if you liked the video. Share the video to people who might be interested in learning tutorials on Blender, Giants Editor. And keep the rubber side down and shiny side up. We'll catch you on the flip-flop. Later.